Breaking news. India has just pulled out £500 billion worth of investments from the British economy, triggering one of the worst financial shocks in UK history. And within hours, Prime Minister Keir Starmer was caught making a desperate late-night call to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a call now being described as the most humiliating moment in modern British diplomacy. Here's how this economic disaster began. Just days ago, Starmer stood in Parliament to deliver a speech about strengthening Commonwealth relations. But instead of building bridges, he lit a diplomatic firestorm. In front of live cameras, with Indian officials watching closely, Starmer criticized India's human rights record in Kashmir, saying Britain cannot ignore concerns over civil liberties. The room fell silent. Even members of his own party looked stunned. And then came the line that changed everything. Until we see improvements, Starmer said, Britain will suspend approval of the new trade agreement with India. That single sentence sent shockwaves through global markets. Within hours, India's ambassador walked out of Parliament and was recalled to New Delhi. By midnight, the Indian government had prepared a full-scale economic retaliation. At 11:47 p.m. London time, Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman appeared on live television with a short but explosive statement. Effective immediately, she said, India is reassessing its entire economic partnership with the United Kingdom. She then listed the new measures, each one hitting Britain harder than the last. Withdrawal of £300 billion in sovereign wealth investments. Suspension of £200 billion in corporate deals. Cancellation of defence contracts worth over £40 billion. And a new tariff on all British imports, effective at once. Her final words were cold and clear. India will only partner with nations that treat it with respect. Sadly, the UK no longer fits that description. The fallout was immediate. The pound sterling crashed. The Bank of England called an emergency session. And British companies tied to India began collapsing overnight. In Birmingham alone, one factory manager said, "We lost £17 million in contracts in a single day. That's hundreds of jobs gone." Across the UK, the CBI now warns that over 175,000 jobs could disappear in the next few weeks. Pension funds are already reporting heavy losses, with billions wiped from retirement savings. Then came the moment that defined this crisis. At 2:15 a.m., a visibly shaken Keir Starmer called Narendra Modi, begging for relief. The call was meant to be private. But due to a technical error, the feed stayed live. The world watched the British Prime Minister plead for mercy. "Prime Minister Modi," Starmer said, "please reconsider. Our families will suffer. Let's find a diplomatic solution." Modi paused, expression cold and steady, before replying. "Prime Minister, actions have consequences. Britain chose to lecture India. Now India will respond in kind." Then, the line went dead. Within minutes, #StarmerBegs was trending worldwide. British pride, once built on empire and power, now lay in pieces before a global audience. By morning, the London Stock Exchange was forced to halt trading after a historic 9% crash, the steepest in decades. Banks bled billions. Investors fled. And even Labour MPs began whispering about a leadership crisis inside Downing Street. Former Prime Minister Gordon Brown urged urgent damage control, while Conservative figures called it a humiliation Britain will never forget. Meanwhile, the public is furious. Polls show Labour's approval plunging, and markets warn this could wipe 3% off GDP, a hit larger than Brexit itself. Behind closed doors, leaked Treasury memos reveal that Starmer was warned of India's possible reaction 2 days before his speech and ignored it. Now Britain faces the terrifying question no one wanted to ask. Can the government repair this before the economy collapses further? Experts warn this crisis could rival the 2008 crash or even trigger a new British Depression. So here's the real story. A prime minister who wanted to make a moral stand has ended up creating an economic nightmare. And a rising India, once seen as Britain's ally, has just reminded the world who truly holds the power now. The question is, did Keir Starmer sacrifice Britain's stability for political posturing, or is there still a way to rebuild the bridge with India before it's too late? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more in-depth political commentary, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the world of power and politics. Thanks for watching.